I told everyone I was the supportive girlfriend, the kind who made color-coded calendars and remembered dentist appointments and printed boarding passes the night before a flight so he wouldn't have to fumble at the kiosk like other people. I said I was freeing up his bandwidth. That was my favorite phrase, like he was a startup and I was the operations team. People clapped for that version of me. My friends called me thoughtful. His mom said I was a blessing. Strangers on Instagram sent little hard eyes when I posted our Sunday routine. The grocery list I wrote on the fridge. The neat stack of his shirts I folded Carrie style. The 2 identical lunches I meal prepped because men forget to eat vegetables. What I didn't post were the edits I made to him. The shirts I donated because they were too boyish. The band practices I nudged off his calendar because late nights were not sustainable. The way I'd say, "Do you really want to say it like that?" when he told a story and paused to find his own words. It started innocently. Liam is the kind of person who will spend an hour fixing a neighbor's porch light without mentioning it later. He brings extra snacks to meetings in case someone skipped breakfast. He wears the same worn denim jacket because he likes the inside pocket wear. He keeps a guitar pick. When we met, I loved that about him. The unperformed decency of it. Then we moved in together and I decided that decency needed a plan. Imagine what you could do. I told him. Over coffee like a coach. You're talented but disorganized. Let me handle the background stuff so you can focus on the big moves. He smiled, grateful, and let me. The first big move, according to me, was rebranding. He worked as a community outreach coordinator for a non-profit co-op, which meant his days were a collage of kids' helmets and grant forms and calling City Hall about crosswalks. I made a deck. Yes, an actual slide deck. About elevating Liam's professional presence. I swapped his denim jacket for a navy blazer, bought him minimalist sneakers that make you look like you mean it, and convinced him to cut his hair shorter so decision-makers take you seriously. You looked nice. He also looked less like himself. When he hesitated in the mirror, I kissed his shoulder. It's not about the clothes, I said. It's about what they unlock. He nodded like a student and wore the blazer to a council meeting. Afterward, he said they approved the safety audit and I told him, see, optics matter. I didn't ask if the audit would have passed, even if he'd shown up in the jacket with the guitar pick. The second move was social. In the beginning, Liam brought me into his world. Casual potlucks with people who made soup out of whatever was in their fridge. Backyard shows where his old band played on a plywood stage. Mornings at the co-op handing out reflective stickers to kids like Halloween candy. I liked it more than I admitted, but I told myself it wouldn't get him where he needed to go. Your network is full of good hearts, I said gently. But if you want funding for bigger projects, you need people who can write checks without asking their board. I started RSVPing yes to rooms With name tags. I learned the first names of donors and the schools their kids attended. I introduced Liam with sentences I practiced. This is Liam. He builds safer streets. You should hear what he's doing with the Route 15 corridor. Later, when we got home and he tried to tell me about a kid who showed up at the co-op without socks and left with a bike and a pair knitted by a volunteer, I'd say, can we circle back? I want to send thank you notes while the event is fresh. If you think that sounds like triage with feelings, you're not wrong. The third move was his music. He has this voice that sounds like wood. When it's warm, soft grain, steady. Friday nights with his band were the only thing he never needed me to schedule. They weren't trying to make it. They just liked playing. I supported it at first. I posted clips. I told him they sounded great. Then I started asking him to shift rehearsals when a client dinner popped up or a fundraiser ran long. It's only 1 week. I'd say. They'll understand. When the band got a chance to open for a touring act at a small venue across town, I said, of course. And then added, you'll look more polished if you don't bring the denim. He laughed and put the blazer over a t-shirt. On stage, he looked like a man cosplaying himself. They played well. I filmed the song he wrote about a stoplight that never turned and the kid who waited anyway. I posted so proud and meant it in the way managers mean it when their team hits metrics. After the show, his friend Marco said, you coming to the after? And I answered for Liam. He has an early meeting. Liam didn't correct me. He hugged Marco and said, next time. Later in bed, he said, sometimes I miss walking home at 2 a.m. with bad pizza. I said, you don't sleep well when you do that. I don't know when loving someone became the same as keeping them tidy. The first hairline crack I noticed should have been the alarm. The co-op was invited to apply for a city grant that would fund a mobile repair van. It was a big deal. The kind of thing you put on a postcard. Liam drafted the application and asked me to proofread. I cleaned up the language, replaced kids with youth, turned fixing bikes into augmenting micromobility access. He frowned. It doesn't sound like me. I pointed at the bullet points. It sounds like what gets funded. He sighed, nodded, hit submit. When they won, everyone cheered. He lifted me in the kitchen and spun me like the old days, and for a moment, my theory felt airtight. The edited life was the successful one. The second crack was smaller and pettier. A residency program reached out to Liam. A 6-week thing in another state where artists and community organizers came together and shared practice. He showed me the email like a kid holding up a seashell. My first thought was logistics. 6 weeks meant I'd be alone with the rent, the car, the meal plan. My second thought was optics. He would come back full of ideas I couldn't edit. I said, it's beautiful, but timing. He said, you're right. And wrote a Gracious decline. He didn't ask me to say the reasons out loud. He didn't say his. The third crack didn't look like a crack. It looked like me winning. A private foundation offered Liam a job. Better salary, better title, an office with frosted glass. They wanted him to lead strategic partnerships. I love the way that sounded. He did too for about 3 weeks. Then he came home with his jaw set and said, I spent my day talking about leveraging narratives while a kid showed up at the co-op with a brake cable snapped in half. I put my hand over his and said, this is how you scale your impact. He nodded. Gentle, the way you nod to a child who demands ice cream before dinner. Maybe, he said, and his eyes went somewhere I couldn't follow. Through all of this, I kept labeling my control as care. When he told a long meandering story at dinner, I'd jump in and land it for him to help him be concise. When he chose a shirt with a tiny stain you couldn't see unless you were looking for it, I'd swap it out so he wouldn't feel self-conscious later. When he invited Marco and Priya over last minute for cards, I'd text them and reschedule so we could be rested for tomorrow. He never fought me. He let his edges erode. He let me be the smart one. He let me keep us symmetrical. The night he left, there was nothing cinematic. No bag thrown together in fury. No slam door. It was a Tuesday that smelled like rain. We were in the kitchen chopping onions, which made both of us look like we were already crying. He said, can we talk after dinner? And I said, we can talk now if you want. Because I don't like surprises. He set down the knife and dried his hands with a dish towel light embroidered with our initials because I am that person. I'm leaving, he said softly. The way he says I'm going to the store. Do we need eggs? My brain did that scrambled thing where it throws up every defense at once. What? I laughed like he was funny. Where? For how long? We had the city breakfast and your dentist is on Thursday and I just RSVP'd. Yes, too. He held up a hand and I stopped as trained. I'm leaving, he repeated, because I can't be myself here. I've tried to explain it to you in pieces, but I think you only hear it when it comes wrapped in a meeting invite. I said you're being dramatic because when you're wrong, you reach for words that make the other person small. He shook his head. I don't think drama is my style. He had a small envelope in his back pocket. He slid it onto the table. Inside was a letter handwritten, which he knows I respect because it takes time. He didn't make me read it in front of him. He knows I hate being watched. I'm not angry. He said, I'm grateful. Actually, you taught me how much work it takes to pretend. I don't want to do that work anymore. I said, I just wanted the best for you. He nodded. You wanted the best version of me. The one that photographs well. The one that doesn't make you nervous in rooms where people speak in bullet points. I want the one that makes soup for no reason and stays out too late playing the same 3 chords. I wanted to argue that soup and chords are fine on weekends, that life has weekdays, too. That someone has to be the adult. He saved me from myself. You're excellent at life, he said. And somehow it sounded like a eulogy. And I think you'll be happier with a person who likes being optimized. And you? I asked because I'm still a child in the worst ways. I want to be liked, he said. For the parts that don't improve. He picked up a duffel I hadn't seen him pack. I realized with a cold, clean clarity that he must have been preparing while I was proofreading his emails. At the door, he paused. I'll then mow my half until the lease ends, he said, because he is the kind of man who closes loops. He looked at the denim jacket on the hook. He slid his hand into the inside pocket, thumbed the guitar pick, and left it where it was. After he walked out, I opened the letter. He had written the kind of sentences that leave no messy crumbs. He thanked me for the meals I cooked when he forgot to eat. He apologized for letting me do so much planning that I forgot how to be surprised. He wrote that he had said no to the residency because he was scared of what I would look like when he said yes. He wrote that he was done letting fear of my face pick his life for him. He wrote that he'd already given notice at the foundation and would be returning to the co-op for fewer hours and more impact, and that maybe that wasn't how the world scored worth, but he was done playing for that scoreboard. He didn't ask me to understand. He didn't leave a scavenger hunt of proofs that would let me argue. He just told the truth and left it on the table like a glass of water. For a while, I lived in the ghost of our routines. I still wrote grocery lists in me columns. I ironed the napkins for no one. I stood at the mirror and judged my own outfits with the same polite brutality I once used on his. Friends texted and I wrote back, "We're taking space." Because I didn't know how to admit that the space was mine. The curated low-dust life where nothing could surprise me because I had already decided what everyone should be. People didn't pick sides. There was nothing to pick. He hadn't cheated or shouted. He hadn't wrecked our home. He had told the truth and left. And truth doesn't make for gossip. A month later, the co-op posted a photo. Liam stood in front of a white van with a painted chain ring and the words "fix it forward" in my handwriting because I had done the early mock-ups. His denim jacket was back, hair a little longer. 2 kids in helmets on either side, grinning like they'd found treasure. The caption said, "We're rolling," and tagged a foundation that had funded the thing without a blazer. In the second slide, he played guitar in the parking lot while a dad held a baby and bounced to the rhythm. Someone else had filmed it. The audio wasn't perfect. His voice was wood and warmth. I watched it 6 times and then put my phone face down on the table. A week after that, I saw him at the market with Priya, who used to volunteer Tuesday nights, the one who always forgot her water bottle and laughed at herself for it. She was wearing paint-splattered overalls and holding a bag of peaches, with both hands like they might run away. They weren't kissing or posting or performing. They were choosing tomatoes together, like people who agree about ripeness. I ducked behind a stack of kale because I am brave online. When I finally walked home, the city looked sharper and meaner than it had in months, as if it resented being smoothed out for so long. It would be useful here to say I learned my lesson and became someone who lets people be who they are. I am trying. That's what I can report. I am trying. When a friend tells a too long story, I keep my mouth shut and let her find the landing. When my brother wears a shirt with a stain, I keep my hands off the hanger. I RSVP yes to last-minute potlucks even when the spreadsheet in my head wants to say that's not efficient. Sometimes I fail. I reached out to Liam once months later with a photo I found in a drawer of that first backyard show asking if he wanted it. He wrote back, yes, please and thank you and nothing else. I put it in an envelope and mailed it without a note. Because there are no words I can write that won't try to edit the past into something it wasn't. When people ask why we ended, I tell the truth in a sentence that fits on a napkin. I called it support when it was control. He said goodbye because I never let him be himself. He's happy now, which is the part one used to dread hearing and now find I can live with. He wins in ways that don't look like trophies. Bikes that stop where they should. Kids who arrive home with clean chains and sleepy smiles. Friday nights that run too late. Soup for no reason. A denim jacket with an inside pocket. From the outside, my life still photographs well. The napkins are still ironed. The calendar is still neat. But when I pass a window and see my reflection, I check for the part that matters. The space around other people, the room I didn't leave before. If there's more of it than last month, I call it progress. If not, I call it practice. The only scoreboard I watch now is whether I am safe to love. He was. I wasn't. He left. That's the story. The rest is just me learning how to stop turning kindness into instructions. Thumbnail concept. Split scene close-up. Left side shows me arranging a blazer and color-coded calendar on a wall. Right side shows him in a denim jacket, tinning a guitar beside a white community bike van with kids around. Big text, I supported him right out the door.